Hi guys, welcome to a new episode of your IGCSE Tutors. Today I will be discussing this Cambridge IGCSE Economics Paper 1. Question 1. What is classed as the factor of production land? So first we need to know land is defined as all the natural resources used in the production. Okay, so the most correct one is forest because it is a natural resources. Question 2. An economics graduate chooses to work in a bank rather than teach economics, which was the next best alternative. So this is a keyword. Which cost is incurred as a result of this decision? So as you know, you should be familiar with the definition of opportunity cost. So when you see next best alternative, this is definitely referring to opportunity cost. Okay. Question 3. The diagram shows an initial production possibility curve of PPC1. What is likely to have caused the movement of the PPC1 to PPC2? So the arrow is like that. So we know that this means that PPC have shifted inwards. Okay, so before doing this question, we need to know there are 4 main reasons why a PPC will shift inwards. Alright, so the first reason can be due to a reduce in the labor force. Okay, second one is a reduction, maybe in like not reduce in technology or reduce in capital, I would say. Okay, and third one is natural resources depletion. Okay, so reduce in natural resources like oil, minerals run out. Okay, and the last one is natural disaster, like earthquake that will disrupt your infrastructure. So let's see which option fits into our 4 main reasons. First one, decline in non-renewable resources. Yes, it fits the number 3 situation, so this one is correct, and the others one are not that relevant. Okay, so A is the answer. Okay, moving on to question 4. What is an example of microeconomics? So as you know, microeconomics is concerned about consumers and firms. Okay, so non-government related. Alright, so let's see. A fall in the cost of growing wheat. Okay, so this is concerned about the firms that produce wheat. So this is correct. So the other one, like unemployment rate, inflation, government spending, these are all under macroeconomics. Okay, fifth one, there are 3 questions to be decided in determining resource allocation within an economy. What does not relate to one of the choices in the 3 key questions? So we need to know what are the 3 basic economic questions. Okay, so first is what to produce, second is how to produce, and third one is for whom to produce. Okay, so first one, let's see whether all income groups receive the output. Okay, so this is referring to for whom to produce. Okay, because we are thinking about whether these goods are produced for low income group, middle income group, or high income group. Okay, B, whether consumer or industrial goods are produced. This is what to produce. Okay, third one, whether economic goods or free goods are supplied. Okay, so this may seem like what to produce, right? But the thing is, free goods, they are not supplied by humans. They are naturally in our environment. Alright, so it's not produced by humans. They are like air, rain, and seawater. Okay, D, whether labor or capital is used in production. This is how to produce. So we know that C is the answer. Okay. Question 6. Diagram shows demand and supply curve for good. The market is in equilibrium at point X. What would be the new equilibrium position if there were a successful advertising campaign for the good and an increase in the cost of raw materials? So first one, advertising means that there will be increase in demand, right? And second one, increase in cost of raw material will reduce supply. Okay, because the cost of production increases, this will discourage the producers from producing the goods. Okay, so when there's the increase in demand, there will be a shift rightwards of demand curve. And when there is a reduction in supply, there will be a leftward shift of supply curve. So what I usually do, I'll circle the new one, and then you'll see which point lies on these two curves. Now we can see it's B. Okay, moving on to question 7. The price elasticity of demand for smartphones is believed to be negative 2.0. A manufacturer decides to cut prices by 10%. What will be the effect of this change in price? Okay, first, write down the formula, PED formula equals to percentage change in quantity demanded divided by percentage change in the price. Okay, so let's list down the PED, negative 2. And we don't know what's the percentage change in quantity demanded. And price is cut by 10%. So this is very important. You need to put negative 10%. Okay, this will definitely affect your answer. So it's very important that you put the negative instead of just putting 10%. Okay, so now let's work out what's the percentage change in quantity demanded. Okay, so we got an increase of 20%. Alright, let's see what's the answer. Demand will fall by 20%. This is wrong because this should be increased by 20%. Demand will rise by 5% is wrong. Quantity supplied will remain unchanged, not relevant because this is about PED. Revenue will increase. This is the only answer. But why is it so? Okay, let's work it out. There's a way to work it out. So you know this is the revenue formula. Revenue equals to price times with your quantity or your outputs produced, right? So revenue increase. We know that okay, wait, let's see first. Price. Overall your prices is reduced by 10%. So you put minus 10%. And quantity demanded increased by 20%. Okay. So what's the overall change? 20 minus 10%, we got positive 10%. This means that your revenue increases by 10%. So this justifies option D. Okay. Question 8. What is a characteristic of a market economic system? Okay, so this we read the statements. A. Consumers decide whether production is labor intensive or capital intensive. This is wrong. Okay. B. Factors of production are government owned. This is more suitable for planned economy. Okay. Third, high levels of government intervention. So this is usually for mixed economy. Okay. So mixed economy means that there are both firms and government intervention. The land and capital are privately owned. Yes, correct. So market economy is it is determined by the market forces of demand and supply, so the firms are all privately owned. Okay. Question D. A government intends to build a new road through a forest. What will be an external cost of this? So external cost means the negative externalities or effects to the third party when producing or consuming the good. So you need to know this is the negative externalities. Okay. First, the cost of building the road. No, this is not a negative. This is not an external cost. This is the actual cost of producing or consuming the good. B. The loss suffered by those who would have used the forest. Yes, correct. For example, some people, they may live in the forest, right? They'll need to be forced to relocate, all right? Or some people who work in forests, like hunters, they may lose their income because they cannot work there. Yeah. So C, the cost of maintaining the road. No, this is the actual cost. New jobs created from construction of the road. This is not. This is more of a external benefit. Okay, 10. Which function does the central bank provide for the general public? Okay, first, accepting deposits. No. Issuing banknotes. Yes, correct. C, making loans, providing overdraft. So you know that A, C, D, they are all the role of commercial bank. Commercial bank. Only B is the role of central bank. Okay. Question 11. At higher wage rates, an individual prefers to work shorter hours than receive extra income. Which curve shows this? Okay. So for this, it is actually shown in the textbook, but it's a very minor part. You must know that it's actually C. But the behind the reasoning is that, okay, let me just draw the graph first. 100. Let's say this is 100 and this is maybe 8 hours of work. And now it increases to 120, and this is 6 hours, 7 hours of work. Okay, so people, they do not want to work longer hours because this will take out their rest time, their leisure time to rest or to spend with their family and friends. Instead, they prefer the leisure time and they do not want to receive the extra income. This is why C is the answer. Question 12. In some countries, there has been a significant reduction in the number of trade union members. Who are the members of trade unions? So trade unions are organizations formed by workers to protect their interests. For example, they usually bargain for a higher wage rate or a better working environment. So very straightforward, the members is workers. Okay, 13. What would be most likely to encourage a firm to grow internally? First, we need to know what is growing internally. This means that it is expanding the firm size. Okay, so there are several ways that a firm can increase its size. For example, they invest in more capital and technology. Or second, they develop new products so that they can will increase their revenue. Or third one, they can enter new markets. For example, they can export their products to other countries. Okay, so the three ways that I stated just now is to increase their revenue, increase their productivity, so overall contribute to the expansion of their firm. Alright, so this is the basic that you need to know. Let's see the option A. When these economies of scale occur at low levels of output. Okay, this economies of scale means that your average cost of production will actually increase when you produce more. This will actually discourage growth. Because if it's at a low level of output, if there's already a very high cost, wouldn't it discourage the firm to continue to produce? Yeah. And B, when economies of scale occur at high levels of output. Yes, this means that the total average cost will actually reduce as the firm grows. Okay, so this will motivate firms to continue to expand so that they can enjoy the economies of scale. Okay, for example, economies of scale can be, when a firm increases its size, they can buy more raw materials in bulk so that they can get discount rates, so that this is why your cost will be lower. C. When new firms enter the market and increase competition. No, this will actually discourage growth. Okay. For example, because some small firms, they may not able to compete with other firms, okay, who have lower costs. So this will discourage them from operating. D. When the firm only supplies in the local market. This will limit the expansion. So again, this discourage growth. The only answer is B. Okay, question 14. A car wash firm has 3 workers. Before specialization, each worker washed 5 cars per day. After specialization, 3 cars per day were washed. What is the percentage increase in productivity? So this is simple. You just do before specialization. Okay, so 5 cars per worker and you have 3 workers, so just 5 times 3, you get 15. And after specialization, they produce 3 cars per day. So you just use your new output minus your old output divided by your old output, then you will get 100% increase of productivity. Okay, question 15. Diagram shows the fixed cost, variable cost, and total cost of a firm. What is the firm's total variable cost at an output of 100 units? Okay, so first we need to identify what does the line represent. First one, this is straightforward. This is total fixed cost. Fixed cost because it remains fixed at regardless of an increase of output or a decrease of output, right? So it remains fixed at all levels of output. Next, variable cost. Okay, so how do we know this is variable cost? Because at output level, when you have 0 output level, your variable cost is 0. This means that, for example, variable costs like raw material costs and labor costs, when you don't produce anything, you won't incur any of these costs. This is why you know that this variable cost, and the line above is actually total cost. Total cost, the formula is fixed cost plus variable cost. Okay, so easily you know that. You already identified this line is variable cost, so you know that, yes. You can see your variable cost is actually 25,000. Alright. Question 16. Table shows the average revenue of a firm at various levels of output. What happens to the total revenue as output rises? Okay, so take note, this is average revenue and this is total revenue. So what is the difference though? Average revenue means that average, like at this output, how much the firm can earn. But total revenue, the formula is that you need to times output, and you need to times your average revenue with your output so that you can get your total revenue. Alright, basically just times all of this and then you can work out your total revenue. Okay, let's work out 10, 16, 18, and 16. So you can see from 10 to 18 it's actually increase, your total revenue increase, and then from 18 to 16 your total revenue drops. Okay, so C is the answer. Okay, question 17. What is the definition of a government budget? Government budget always involve these two, which is government spending and government revenue. Okay, government revenue is tax revenue, alright? So A, a forecast of government spending and revenue for the following financial year. Yes, correct. Yeah, so budget is always a forecast. So you know that the other options are completely off. Alright, 18, a government decides to increase defense expenditure and reduce direct taxes. This is definitely fiscal policy. Alright, because fiscal policy often just involves two elements, tax and government expenditure. Government spending, yeah. Okay, so B is the answer. So for exchange rate policy, you will often see keywords like appreciation, depreciation, okay, or devaluation, revaluation. And then monetary policy, it involves interest rates, money supply, and exchange rate. And then for trade protection policy, it will involve policies like tariff, quota, embargoes, and more. Yeah, so B is the answer. Question 19. Governments use monetary policy such as increasing the rate of interest. What is a result of increasing the rate of interest? So let's see what happened. When central bank increase the interest rate, your borrowing cost actually increases. Because the firm, for example, the firm borrows 100,000 of loan and they need to repay, last time they need to repay 5%. But due to interest rate increase, now they need to repay 8%. This actually increase their borrowing costs, and then this will discourage the investment. Okay, so B is the correct answer. Question 20. Table shows the distribution of working population in millions in various sectors of an economy over 2 years. What can be concluded from the information? So first, when you see this table, don't be overwhelmed by a lot of information. So a tip that I can give you is to look at the answer to find clues of to solve this question. Okay, so let's see. So A, less output was produced in the economy in year 2 than year 1. Okay, but this may not be relevant because you see the data is about employment. It's not about output. So maybe this is not relevant. But let's see first. Okay, others. Fewer people were employed in secondary sector, primary sector, tertiary sector. Okay, so the keyword is this. So you know that first step is to identify which industry and which economic sector is under primary, secondary, and tertiary. Okay, so first one, education is a tertiary. I'll be writing T. Engineering, secondary. Farming, primary. Finance is tertiary. Healthcare, tertiary. Motor vehicle production, secondary. Oil extraction, primary. Okay, so let's see. From year 1 to year 2. First, let's calculate the changes in primary sector first. Okay, so let's see farming and oil extraction. 2 plus 2, 4 in year 1, and then year 2 is 1 plus 2, 3. So it actually reduces. So C is wrong because less people were employed in primary sector in year 2 than year 1. Okay, secondary, let's see. Okay, so for secondary, we need to add up engineering and motor vehicle production. Year 1, 6 plus 5, 11. Okay, second year, 8 plus 5, so 13. Okay, let's see the answer. Fewer people were employed in the secondary sector in year 1 than year 2. Yes, this is correct. Okay, but we still need to work out tertiary. Okay, tertiary, you just need to add up education, finance, and healthcare. So 4 plus 8 plus 4, you'll get 16, and year 2, you'll get 3 plus 6 plus 5, you will get 14. Okay, so tertiary, the employment reduces. So this should be less people. So B is the answer. Okay. Question 21. Which government intervention would increase the geographic mobility of labor? So geographic mobility is like, labor being unable to travel from one place to another, which limits their job opportunity. Okay. So like, for example, a worker who is living in New York is unable to travel to, let's say, California, which is far away. Okay, so this is the geographical immobility. Okay, first one, controlling firms locating in areas of low employment. No. Giving grants to firms moving into areas of high unemployment. So these are all not, because they're related to firms, not directly towards the labor. So they're wrong. C, providing relocation expenses for workers. Yes. So now they are able to travel and they are able to relocate to another location and work there. D, subsidizing declining industry. Not related to our questions. C is the answer. Okay, question 22, which action by employers is most likely to reduce long-term economic growth? Okay, so what can reduce long-term economic growth? Usually is reducing something that will reduce the productivity of the firm. Okay, A, allowing workers time off to attend retraining courses. No, actually, this is good for long term because after training, your workers may become more productive. B, encouraging workers to work flexibly in different roles. No, because I would say that okay, there's an explanation to it, so that when workers, they work in different roles, they are able to gain more skills. So it's actually improve the occupational mobility. Yeah. So this means that workers are able to switch from one job to another. So yes, it will increase their productivity. C, granting workers regular short breaks during the working day. Okay, first, this may seem a bit confusing because you are like, oh, the workers are actually taking a rest, taking a break. Wouldn't their productivity reduce? Yes, in reality, maybe yes, but in theory is that when the worker take a rest and after they can regain their energy, so the productivity increase afterwards. Okay, D, replacing skilled workers with semi-skilled workers. Yes, this is correct, because semi-skilled workers, their skills are definitely not cannot be compared to skilled workers. Alright, so this will definitely reduce your productivity. Okay, question 3. Table shows weights attached to various categories of goods in a CPI in 2 years. What can be concluded from the table when comparing year 1 and year 2? So first, we need to know what is a CPI. So CPI measures the change in price paid by consumers for different goods and services over time. Okay. For different goods and services. Okay, what can be concluded? So you need to find the answer that is most correct. A, real income spent by average consumer on motoring increased. Yes, the CPI increased, but this one is saying real income. What is real income? Income that is adjusted for inflation. But this one is not shown in the diagram. We do not know what is the inflation rate, so this is not correct because we do not have enough data. B, the cost of producing food has fallen. Okay, CPI has fallen, not the cost of producing food, because it's a different thing. CPI has not changed over the 2 years. Well, let's see. Total change, the total does not change, but the individual weights change. So you cannot say that CPI has not changed over the 2 years unless it's saying that the first year data and the second data is completely the same, then C is correct. Okay, the proportion of income spent on clothing has increased. Can you see 100 to 200? Yes, increase. Correct. Why? Because the proportion of income is related to how consumers spend their income, which is the same as CPI. Okay. Question 24, the table shows the HDI values for countries. Okay, what might explain the difference in HDI values? So from the table, we can see that country X has a higher HDI value than country Y. Okay, first we need to know what are the 3 components under HDI. H represent healthcare. This is how I remember. And then I is like regarding your income, and then is education. Okay, so A, country X has double the inflation rate of country Y. We do not know that. B, country X has half the population of country Y. Again, we do not know. C, country X spends more of its real GDP on foreign aid than country Y. No, this we do not know. D, country X spends more of its real GDP on schooling than country Y. So D is the correct answer. Question 25. Wealthy countries have people who live in relative poverty. So relative poverty means that people who are living below the standard of living. Okay. So what is the most likely cause of this? A. Generous state pensions, no. Low national minimum wage. Yes, correct. So maybe those people who are in the relative poverty, they're working in lower wages course, like lower wages jobs, like janitor, waitress. So if the minimum wage is lower, this is not beneficial for them, and this will cause them to stuck in relative poverty. C. Progressive taxation, subsidized healthcare. So both of this actually, it targets the rich people. Okay, so B is the correct answer. Okay, question 26. Diagram shows population data for country for these 3 years. Okay, let's see the options. What can be concluded from the diagram? A. Men outnumber women in each year. No, we can see that you can observe the trend. It's actually almost similar. You compare both sides, right? Both sides almost similar. Almost similar as well. This one's almost similar also. So yeah, A is not answer. B, people are living longer over the period. So let's see, because this is the age, right? So you can see that in 1950, that's people living at 80 and above, and then 2005 is actually increases. Yeah, 2005 and 2050 is actually increase. So this means that the country's life expectancy increases. So B is the correct answer. Population has grown continuously. We do not know that. Workforce, no. We do not know that as well. So B is the answer. Question 27. A country has large reserve of oil. It decides to produce a wide range of goods rather than specialize in oil production. What is not an acceptable reason in support of this decision? In other words, you need to find the option that is least correct. A. Oil is a non-renewable resource that could be exhausted quickly. Yes, because since these resources will run out quickly, only focusing on this industry will make the economy vulnerable. This is why you need to produce a wide range of goods, okay, so that you are not dependent on only one industry. So yeah, this is correct. Okay, if I say this is correct, means that this is not the answer, okay, because we want to find the answer that is not correct. B. Producing a wide range of goods increases the benefits from free trade. Okay, this is wrong, because free trade, it only happens when a country specialize. Okay, so it benefits from specialization. However, in this question, they say that the country produces a wide range of goods, so it's opposite with what we want. Okay, so if this is incorrect, this is the answer. But let's look at other answers as well. C. Relying on other countries for vital goods and services makes a country vulnerable. Yes. So this is why a country need to diversify their industries, so that when a country, let's say another country, do not want to export the goods to you anymore, so at least you local firms still can produce the goods themselves rather than depending on other countries. D. The price of oil is volatile, making export revenue unstable. Yes, this is also why we want to diversify the industries, so that our export revenues, the country export revenue will be better, yeah, as it does not depend solely on oil industry. Question 28. The US puts a 25% tariff on Chinese steel to protect jobs in the US steel industry. Under which condition would this policy be most effective? Okay, so tariff, what's the effect of tariff? Tariff will cause the Chinese steel to increase in prices. Okay, so it will increase the price of Chinese steel. Okay, when the price increase, the demand of Chinese steel will also reduce. So this is essentially what US wants to achieve. But this question is asking you, under which condition, under which PED or PES will cause this policy to work in the most effective way? Okay, let's see. So let's talk about PED first. Your PED must be price elastic for this policy to work well. Why? Because when we say the demand is price elastic, it means that it is the quantity demanded is very sensitive to the change in price. In this scenario, this will cause the price of Chinese steel to increase, right? So, as a result, the quantity demanded of steel will actually reduce significantly. Okay, next, PES. PS is actually irrelevant in this question because how the Chinese producers react to the price change due to tariff is not our main focus. Our main focus is to protect jobs in the US industry, right? So it only focuses on the US consumers' reaction, okay, which will affect the revenue of Chinese steel. So we do not focus on Chinese producers in this case. So A is the answer because it is elastic. Okay. Question 29. What might a central bank do to stop a fall in the value of its country's currency? First, raise interest rates. Yes, it's correct. Because when you raise interest rates, this will attract FDI. Because when they invest in a country, they can get a higher return. So when there's increase in FDI, this will increase your hot money inflow. More money will come into the country. So this will cause your currency to appreciate. Okay. B, reduce tax on imports. No. Because this will actually make your imports cheaper. If the imports price is lower, right, your imports will actually increase. Because it's cheaper to import, then import demand increase, import will increase. This means that your money will leave the country, money outflow. Alright, because you buy import, you need to sell off your currency, so your money flow to another country. C, remove controls on currency outflows. Well, if you remove controls, more money will actually flow out of your country. When money outflow, currency will fall. Currency fall. Okay. D, sell their currency on foreign exchange market. Oh no, completely not correct, this option. So A is the correct answer. Okay, 30. A government wishes to reduce the surplus on the current account of its balance of payments. Which policy is likely to achieve this? So there are two ways on how to reduce the surplus on current account. First method, you need to reduce your export. Second method, you can increase your import. Okay, which policy is likely to achieve this? First one, cutting government spending. Not related. B, devaluing its currency. Okay, so when your currency is lower, this means that this makes your export cheaper. So export price, your export price reduces. So it will actually increase your export demand, which is not what we want, right? Okay, C, increasing existing import quotas. Yes, correct, because when your import quotas increase, you can import more from other countries. So yes, this is the correct answer. D, increasing import duties. No, because this will increase your import price and reduce import demand. So C is the correct answer. So here's the end of our video. Hope this video helps you a lot. Do comment down below if you have any questions or you have any past year questions that you want us to solve. We'll see you in the next video.